We are going to be adding a connection string to app settings and dependency injections to our startup. And once we do both of those things, we are going to be able to do code first migrations. So let's open up app settings. And what we're going to do is we're going to add it below allowed hosts. Now, if you have authentication in your application, you already have a connection string, okay? And you're pretty much going to want to leave it alone. The only thing that I would recommend changing is the name of the database, and you'll see where that goes. So, adding our connection string. So we are going to code in connection strings. And we got our curlies here. And we are going to try to fit this on one line. So we have the movie context. And then the value for that is really long, just so you know. We specify that the server is equal to local DB. And this is something that you do change when you move this to a live server. And we are using MS SQL local DB. The database that we are creating, instead of calling it movies, we're going to call it movies exercise. That name should be unique. So, I mean, you could call it movies 1, movies 2, as long as it's unique. And then we've got a couple little values we have to set. Trusted connection is set to true. Multiple active result sets is set to true as well. Okay, so that is our very long connection string. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And let me just run a little build here. All right, so that looks like it is fine. The next thing that we need to set is dependency injection. So what this is going to do is it's going to basically pass along the context and the options. And so we are going to be coding that in the startup. And where that goes is the configure services method. So right below the add controllers with views is where we're going to put this. And we're going to code it up, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. So we're specifying that the movie context is our DB context here. And we've got the options. And we're telling it to use SQL Server. And we're passing along the configuration. Oh, if I spell it right. And we're specifying our connection string here. So, how this is all working, you'll notice at the top of our startup class that we have a little constructor, and we're passing it configuration. And then we set the configuration into another configuration, but this one is read only. You can see that we've created it as a read only, and that is important because we need to use that to access all of our options. It can actually read the connection string, and we have it doing that right down here. And if you remember, we specified that connection string over in app settings. So all of these things are connected. The context that we created, the connection string, and the dependency injection are all interrelated. So to enable our dependency injection, we have to call add DB context. And the lambda expression for options is actually creating the DB context option object. Okay? And it's doing that by reading in that connection string. That's part of what it does in order to create it. So once we have completed this, we're going to save and run a build. So what happens if you have to use the default connection instead of your own context? Um, whatever you put here for the context, whatever you add, you are going to have to use over here as well. They all need to be connected. Okay. In the section of this assignment that you're going to do on your own, there is a video that shows you how to code this up if you do have authentication. And in this particular project, we don't have to worry about it. So we've run our build. Our next step in this process is going to be to do the migrations.